Hey YouTube, it's Mako Abyss coming at you with a redo video from my first video I did, which was my Ancient Gear deck profile. I've had a lot of people giving me a lot of tips and everything on that video. Like I said in that video though, I am literally working off of my phone. I don't have fancy cameras and everything, so I'm doing off of the best that I can. But this is a redo video, hoping that I get better. I give you a better quality video, which is I know what a lot of people want. If you don't want to hear my annoying voice, I will have a description of or a deck profile, deck list in the description below. But from here, this is the deck profile. This deck runs 2 copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. He is one of your bigger beaters in the deck. His effect goes 2 ways depending on which you tribute summon him with, and then if it's a gadget monster, he can attack twice in the same battle phase, and if it's an Ancient Gear monster, he deals piercing damage, and then he already has his basic effect, which is your opponent can't activate monster effects during the battle phase, and then when he attacks at the end of the damage step, you destroy a spell or trap in play. We run 1 copy of Ancient Gear Golem. Later on in this deck, this is subject to change because of the new Ancient Gear support we're supposed to be getting, being Ancient Gear Megaton, Ancient Gear Golem, and Ancient Gear Fusion, which rely heavily on Ancient Gear Golem. And they're just going to be such amazing cards that you don't want to ignore them for Ancient Gear deck. This deck isn't set up all the way for that release yet. This is still set up for our format that we have right now. So 1 copy of Ancient Gear Golem. We have a playset of Ancient Gear Wyvern, which is your searcher. Searches out any monster in the deck pretty much, except for a few minor monsters like gold and silver gadget that are running this deck. You search out any spell or trap card as well that says Ancient Gear in its name. The only drawback to him that I will say I don't like is that Geartown is not Ancient Geartown, it's Geartown, that's it. So you can't search it with this. We run a playset of Ancient Gear Gadget. Ancient Gear Gadget is pretty straightforward. When you normal special summon them, you declare monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent can't use those effects until the end of the battle phase when you start your battle phase. And you can also make his name considered any gadget name. So he could be red, green, yellow, silver, gold, what have you. He can be any of the gadgets. I then run a playset Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. He's your fusion card, one of your fusion cards of the deck. Burns 600 upon being normal summoned, and he's pretty helpful if you got nothing to fuse with him. If you got, more than likely you're gonna fuse with him. But if you have the option, you could always go into like your rank 3s, which this deck doesn't really run any rank 3s really, but he's still decent if you want to try and get off like Link summoning or something like that. 1 copy of Ancient Gear Box. Fun card to combo with your Ancient Gear Wyvern. You search your Ancient Gear Box with Wyvern's effect. Ancient Gear Box will grab Ancient Gear Gadget. And then if you have Hunting Hound in play, or if you have not normal summoned yet, or if Hunting Hound's just sitting on the field anyway, you use Hunting Hound's effect to fuse Hunting Hound with Wyvern, Gadget, and Box. You create any of your Ancient Gear fusions, really, except for Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. 2 copies of Silver Gadget, and 2 copies of Gold Gadget to round off our monsters. We then move on to spells. For our spells, we run a playset of Geartown. Pretty straightforward. Normal summon Ancient Gear monsters require 1 less tribute, so Ancient Gear Golem and Reactor Dragon go to 1. So if you tribute for Reactor Dragon, you tribute your Ancient Gear Gadget, you get both effects off of that, and then he just becomes fucking gnarly. You run a playset of the main spell being Ancient Gear Catapult. You if you have no monsters to play, pop a card you have on the field, summon an Ancient Gear monster from the deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You pop Geartown with this, you get 2 Ancient Gear monsters. So you can get Ancient Gear Golem ignoring its summoning condition by Catapult, and then off of Geartown you can get Reactor Dragon, you can get Wyvern and get Wyvern's effect, you can get Hunting Hound if you want to try and go for your fusion play. It's just all around an amazing card to run in this deck, so playset. 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fortress. When this card is on the field, basically your monsters, your Ancient Gear monsters are immune to basically everything. The turn that they're summoned, your opponent can't target them with effects, and if it's ever destroyed, you summon an Ancient Gear monster from the grave to back to the field. So, well, you won't be able to get your golem with this effect, but you get like your reactor dragon or anything like that, and you can even get wyvern's effect. Overload fusion, so you can get your fusions off from the grave. This only fusion this deck runs that's dark for this is going to be your Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. And I've actually got more fusion plays off of this card than I have Hunting Hound and Summoning him, because just getting cards to the grave seems like it to be fairly simple now recently with how the format's been going with True Draco and sadly Zodiac still being a thing. 1 copy of Power Bond, and then that rounds off fusions. We run 1 copy of Limited Removal, and then 1 copy of Terraforming. Most people I see play 2, 3 Terraforming. In this deck, you're pretty well set with running 1 from what I've played. I mean, I still only run 1 Terraforming. I still draw in the Geartown on a regular basis, and there have even been times where I've opened with 2 Ancient Gear with 2 Geartowns in my hand. So you want to run 1 Terraforming. 1 copy of Foolish Bale of Goods to get your Catapult to the Grave. Catapult's grave effect is also really good if you just pop a card you have in play, banish Catapult from the grave, and get out an Ancient Gear token, and then depending on what you pop, you can get off, like say you pop off your Geartown with it, you get a monster from the deck. You pop off your Fortress with it, you get a monster from the grave. So, just Catapult, like I said, in this deck is a really bad main staple. It's an amazing card to run. 1 copy of Twin Twisters for back roll destruction, and then 1 copy of Raigeki for clearing the field. And that rounds off spells. We now move the traps, which is 2 copies of Ancient Gear Reborn. Pretty straightforward. This is your Call of the Haunted of the deck. If you have no monsters in play, you bring back an Ancient Gear monster. It gains 200 attack for it, but you can only control 1 Ancient Gear Reborn at a time, which is still pretty decent. 2 copies of Quaking Mirror Force. Quaking Mirror Force is a really main staple trap in this deck because piercing damage with Ancient Gears is just, they go inside so easily together because you have monsters like Ancient Gear Golem, you have Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon that can do piercing if you tribute Ancient Gear monsters. It's just, you want to get piercing with this deck as much as you can, because you want to make it to where your opponent can't defend themselves no matter what, and Ancient Gears and piercing damage just go so perfectly together. 1 copy of Floodgate Trap Hole to add to more opponents' problems, because you flip your opponent's monsters face down when they summon a monster. They go into face down defense position, and they just pretty much set you up to start doing tons of piercing damage. 2 copies of Solemn Strike, and then 1 copy of Solemn Warning to round off traps. We now move on to the extra deck. 2 copies of Mrs. Radiant. Fun link monster for this deck. Just takes 2 Earth monsters, and on all your Earth monsters gain 500 attack, which is every monster in this deck is Earth except for the 1 fusion. When it's destroyed by battle or by a card effect, you also get an Earth monster back from the grave to the hand. So, I mean, you got so many options with this. If you have everything you need to go for another fusion, but you need like a main monster for it that's Earth, this card just helps you out so heavily with it. And it's, like I said, it gains 500 attack, so it itself will go to 1900. It's just a great card altogether. 2 copies of Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. Ancient Gear Giant, I actually did consider running only 1 copy. There was a period of time I ran 3 until I found out a ruling about him, which heavily crippled my love for him, being that these 2 cards do not pump him up. They don't. his effect states that he's immune to the effects of spells and traps, which means Power Bond won't give him a boost when it makes him, and Limited Removal won't give him jack shit. It'll just destroy him at the end of the turn. So that's why I dropped him down to 2. I felt 1 of was not enough, so 2 of just seemed like the perfect number for me. We then run 2 copies of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Like I said, Ancient Gear Golem is just becoming a really heavily main staple in Ancient Gears. And when the new support comes out, he is going to be so much more playable because of Megaton Ancient Gear Golem's effect states that when it leaves the field, you summon this guy for free, ignoring his summoning conditions. And that just, on my honest opinion, that's just broken. You run a playset of Ancient Gear Howitzer, burn your opponent for 1,000 damage, immune to damn near everything, and then when he leaves the field, you get anything, any Ancient Gear monster you want to the field instantly. But if I'm not mistaken, you have to destroy him by battle. That's the only drawback to him, because, yeah, he's 1,000, but I've constantly dealt with people fucking just popping him with, like, Chaos Sorcerer or BLS or something along those lines. Just fucking banishing him. Remove him from the field by an effect. But yeah, he is one of your main staples for searching. Run a Deuces of number 59, the Crooked Cook. Crooked Cook is so important to the deck because he pops your spells and your traps. So you pop off your Geartown, you pop off your Fortress. You get a monster for free basically by detaching 1 material from him. And then you can get anything to the field with that, except for, of course, Ancient Gear Golem. He's just so important to the deck because of that ability. 2 copies of Ancient Gear X to help you get your level 4 machine monsters to the field faster. 1 copy of Castel, because it is Castel. And then 1 copy of Tornado Dragon to round off the extra deck. We now move the side. Side deck, I'm working on updating to kind of help new support when it comes out. I'm still tinkering with it a little bit, but this is pretty much set up for the new support, and so far I haven't had to dip into it too much. But we run 2 copies of Ancient Gear Golem, 1 copy of Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound, 1 copy of Jinzo, because always ruining your opponent's trap plays have always been like a main purpose with him, and you want to try and stop those as much as you can. Ancient Gear already pretty well put a stop to a lot of them, but there are some that don't even touch spells and traps, so Jinzo is a big help. 1 copy of Poly, because your Ultimate Pound needs something to search. 1 copy of Book of Moon, because, like I said, you want to get that piercing damage off as much as possible. 1 copy of Ancient Gear Fortress. 1 copy of Soul Charge, and then 2 copies of Mind Drain, because hand traps like Ash Blossom, Winter Cherries, Ghost Reaper, even Bone Meister have become such a pain in the ass as of late that you want to try and make those people that play those hand traps suffer, and Exodia is still a problem. So you want to make Exodia players cry as much as possible by stopping them from even going with Exodia. And then round out the deck, just 3 Ancient Gear tokens, which is, you get 1 when you buy the structure deck. So please like, subscribe. I will have a deck list in the description below if you just don't want to watch this video at all, but please like and subscribe, and hopefully I get more likes in this video than I did in my other one. This is Mako Abyss signing out.